Hi, it's Kamari Harpley again, and we're gonna try this for the umpteenth time. My eyebrows, I don't know, I'm confused to you guys. I don't know. So we're gonna talk about why growing up black is a burden. I don't think, I mean, it's got its blessings. Don't get me wrong. It's overall a blessing to be black, whatever. But like, there's burdens that come with that too, and I think it's kind of irresponsible to ignore those because they never get corrected if you ignore things that are problems. You know what I mean? But anyway, so number one, I do actually want to shout out the Generation Z because I think Generation Z is doing an amazing job. I think they're doing a wonderful job. I think they have incredible representation now in the media where you can see a dark skin, a light skin, brown skin, all with different hair textures, different skin types, different body types. And I love it. They have so much access to that type of stuff, and I really wish I had access to that type of stuff. I mean, now these days you can be like a black gamer, you can be a black writer. I mean, there's still challenges, absolutely. There's still challenges, but you have permission to be these things now, and I think that's like a big deal. And it's amazing. I think it's incredible, and I wish I grew up in a generation. I wish that. But because I'm gonna be 30 in a couple weeks, and I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s. We're going to talk about some of the burdens that come with growing up black as a child, you know. Number one, so religion, right? Automatically, as a black person, you are kind of forced into Christianity. And while I do not come down on anybody for any religion that they have, whether they're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, whatever, Hindu, whatever you're doing, I don't care. I really don't care. Because you know why? Because you're not bothering me. I don't care. Like, live your life. Do whatever you want to do. Um, the issue that I'm having is that when you're black, you're automatically put into a Christian box, right? So you're taught, like, when you're at least in the 90s, like, you're taught like this and X, Y, and Z is sin, and this and that. And I think that really affects things such as your sexuality, for example. I think a lot of people have like tendencies, like I was like girls and guys growing up. I think a lot of people like guys, a lot of people like girls. So I think it's an issue because you're automatically like in all households, like you're automatically outcasted, but especially being black, you're categorized as being weaker because you like someone of like the same sex, for example. And you know, you're like taught it's a sin. But now, now in 2020, I'm with anybody I want. And I'm just like, come in, loser, let's go sitting. Like, I don't care. Like, let's go sin. I don't care. And thankfully, lucky enough, I do have a parent who does not care. So my mom really didn't care. She's just like, "Oh, good, whatever. As long as whoever treats you right is right, then it's all right." And I think that's kind of what everyone should actually teach your kids. Like, all that matters is what you're being treated, or how you're being treated. Like, it doesn't matter who's touching your genitals. All that matters is who loves you the most and who you love back. I'm just saying. I think people are too obsessed with that. I think that's weird. That kind of leads into another thing. Like, there's with religion, it just makes people so homophobic in the black community, and it's so hard for a lot of guys. Like, I feel bad for a lot of guys who are grow up with that and stuff. And again, this affects all communities, but like with the black community, you're just seen as so weak. And I think that's coming out and just being, you know, who you are is the strongest thing you can do, not because you're coming out, because I think it's normal uh to just be with who you want to be with, but I think it's strong because you're going against the belief system you had your entire life and that you're programmed to believe your entire life. That's a huge thing. So we'll start with that. Number two, finances. I think finances are a huge issue when you're a kid because I think that like education is pushed on you because of the lack of generational wealth that we have. Sorry, I had a stroke. Okay, I'm trying to speak clearly. We don't have generational wealth. Like, we really don't. Like, some people do. Like, some people are able to like overcome things, but there's so many things that happen like in the past, like the generation before us, the generation before them. I think it's like really, we have a really crappy start and stuff. Like, we just do, and that just is what it is. Um, you're taught as a kid, like, you've got to work hard to become X, Y, and Z, so that, you know, your family can be better, your friends can be better, everything can be better financially. Everything's just kind of like put on money. And we really, I think when you have a child, like, you really should focus on like their happiness the most, to be completely honest. Like, kids have feelings, kids say things, kids do things. Like, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. So, I mean, that impacted me. I don't know if that impacted anybody else, but that impacted. Yeah, of course I know. What am I talking about? Yes, I know that impacted everybody else. It's hard. It's hard to be financially responsible at like 7 years old. You've got to, you know, break open a piggy bank. You've got to do X, Y, and Z. It's hard, and it's a lot of pressure to put on yourself for like so long. So yeah, financial. Number 3, I think trying to fit in is such it's such a complicated issue, and it's something that I could discuss like for a million years, because number 1, you guys see how I talk, so obviously fitting in was obviously a problem. Like, so I moved here from New York, where you can be whatever you want, to Vegas, to where you're kind of like in a box. And even now you're kind of in a box, like you're kind of just supposed to be X, Y, and Z, but that's a whole nother video, just like the other thing that I mentioned. Yeah, I mean, you're really supposed to be X, Y, and Z, and, you know, a lot of people believe that, and so kind of it's hard to grow up. Like, when I first got here, I tried to assimilate in like the culture. Like, I tried to be more homophobic. I tried to be more, I don't know, what people would feel like with the stereotype that ghetto is and stuff. But it's just not me. It's just not me. And that's honestly, the ghetto is totally fine. Not the homophobic. That's never fine. That's never okay for anybody. But I mean, if that's your personality, that's completely fine. It just was never mine. So it was just kind of hard. So I kind of just accepted when I was a kid that I would be alone for a long time, because, you know, I didn't really get, like, you're too white to fit in, and then you're too black. Like, and so now when I see people who are, you know, black, and they like rock, and they like this and that, I'm like, okay, that's great. But part of me does get a little bit mad, because I've always liked these things. I've never been ashamed of who I was, and I got bullied for it. So it's kind of hard. I think it's great that they can finally be themselves. I think it's amazing and beautiful that they have come into who they are. They've accepted the things that they do and do not like. They're not worried about like fitting into like some type of mold that is created for us, whether it's by our own people or by others. But yeah, I do get a little salty. I'm just like, like, I just get so mad. So number 4, it wouldn't be a my video if I didn't burp right. Number 4, the sexualization of black girls. Oh my gosh. Like, you cannot exist. Like, you cannot exist as a black woman in society if you're a black woman in society. Like, it's hard, and it's still a problem to this day, but I think it's being addressed a lot more. Like we just develop differently. It has nothing to do with other races of other girls not being able to like relate to that, but we do just develop differently. Like, we get hips early, we get our periods early, we get boobs early, we have butts early. It all happens so early, and all happens when we're a kid, and we don't realize that, because we're still in our kid mentality. Like, we still want to be kids, we still feel like kids, we still are kids. So we don't think about that. It's hard, I think, when you're a child and you're told you've got to cover up, or you gotta stop being fresh, you gotta stop being grown, you because of the way you look. You know what I mean? Like, I can't help that I was 13 with D cups. Like, there's nothing I can really kind of do about that. I can't help I had hips already. Like, it's just, you can't help it, but it happens. And I think that's one of kind of like the burdens that we kind of deal with. And I mean, like I said, I mean, that's a huge issue with women with all races, to be honest. Like, I did a TikTok about it, and like a lot of Hispanic women like came on there and were just like, man, like I developed so early, and it was like an issue in my household, and it was an issue with getting catcalled. And the biggest problem with that is that women don't feel safe, or little girls don't feel safe and stuff. And I think that's something that kind of needs to be addressed as well. Stop sexualizing children. Make them understand that, first of all, sex is not something that happens to you, that happens when you want it to happen, first of all, because you can't say no. It's absolutely a consensual thing. It should, at least it should be. If it's not consensual, it's not called non-consensual sex. That is called rape. Okay? Number 2, teach them that, you know, your body is changing, but I mean, you can still be who you are. You can still be goofy. You're still a human being at the end of the day. Yes, people are going to treat you different, but you don't have to actually feel different. When you come home, this is a safe space for you. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that, like, I think a lot of people wish they had. I don't want to say I didn't have that, because I never was, thankfully, never was molested growing up. But, you know, I was like told I was fresh and I needed to change and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it's fair that other people got to dictate, like, what I wore, what I was comfortable in. Like, other people shouldn't get to dictate your home. And if those people are dictating your home, then those are people that shouldn't be there. So, and number 5, we'll finally get to the big one, the big daddy, racism. It impacts everything. So, you may wonder why. Number 1, Black people are very observant. It is because we are taught at a young age to be very careful with not only the people we're with, like other people are taught, but also the government. Public officials, police, everything. Unfortunately, we want to be able to trust these people. We don't want to have to tell people that there's racism in the world, but it just kind of just is naturally what's always going to be there, unfortunately. Like, you have to have that talk with your son and daughter, like, at that point in their life. When you are raising a Black child, like, you can't trust the cops. You can't really trust people in power, because people in power will take advantage of you. And that's the horrible. I'm not even going to lie. That's horrible. I'm not saying all of them do it, but there is a large number of people who do. And if you are an Instagram or a Twitter follower, you'll see, like, I never posted about, like, George Floyd. I did post Black Lives Matter or whatever, but I think I got irritated about it because, not that I'm saying that he should have died the way that he died. I think that's horrible. I think it's horrible, but at the same time, we've been saying this for so long. And it took it being on video and an act of cruelty for you guys to finally come around and finally accept, oh, this does happen. Why didn't you listen to us? You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm not crying, but it's just like, I've done this like 14 times. Okay. But no, I was mad because I'm just like, we've been saying this. Like, we've always known if we have to have the talk when we're children, don't you think that we know that we're being treated not equally? Like, don't you think we know that? So it's just like, I don't know. I got really annoyed, but I think it's irresponsible to attach a name to a hashtag. I think it's say her name, say his name. I think that's great. I think the movement, the protests, everything is great. But I think it's irresponsible because the issue is with the system and it's not with certain people. You know what I mean? I think that the people need to be held accountable for what they did, the murder of Black citizens. And yes, I said murder. I don't think that it's okay. I don't think any of it should go on any longer. But at the end of the day, the police were created to catch runaway slaves. So if we really think about it, why would we ever trust the cops? You know what I mean? So Black people are observant because, full circle, we have to be careful at all times. And I think that's sad that you have to teach your children that, but you do have to teach your children that. You just kind of do. And it sucks that's why I say growing up as a child being a burden. Because it's just, it can be, growing up as a Black child can be a burden just because of all the things that I mentioned before. Like, there's so many things, there's things that we can't control that other people do. There's things that we can't control that are within our community, within our families, within society, but I think it's definitely up to us and like the new millennials and like the new generation to like really kind of like look at ourselves. Like, we really like look at ourselves, like fix the internalized damage that is really kind of like within, and then go from there. And I think that's actually happening. I see Black herbalists. I see Black people doing yoga. I see, like I said, the representation. I see Black nerds. I see Black scientists. Like, it's just, the representation is just amazing. It's just amazing these days. And again, I mean, if you want to be a rapper or an athlete, I mean, that's fine, but I don't think that's the only category that we fit in. I don't think that's the only thing that you need to shoot for. I think you can be, honestly, at this day and age, whatever you want. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's it for today. This ended up being a long video. Sorry. And really, that's it. I'm going to have some water because obviously I need it. And, yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I'm really curious to see the comments because I can't wait to see what people grabs from this situation, because I made a similar video before where I said like the issues with Black and white communities, you know, like what's the issue, and then just like a bunch of like middle-aged white dudes started to comment on it and were like, oh, we'll play the blackguard and blah blah. First of all, like I said, it's my skin color, so it doesn't matter. Number two, there are people who do ruin it in the world. Like, I'm sorry, there's people who still think that we're lower than them. So, and there's issues in the Latin community, Asian community, just everybody deals with colorism in their own type of way, racism in their own type of way. So, I don't know. I'm curious. So, leave me what you think below. Watch the video. And yeah,